Hello everyone. Good evening. I hope all of you had a nice lunch and had some time to digest your lunch. So the blood is rushing back to our heads now. So it's my pleasure to be with you in this session as the chair of this session, which is about open access success stories. And we're going to start with Dr. Al-Walid Al-Khaja. Dr. Al-Walid is the head of Open and Copyright at Qatar National Library and is leading the library's open access program team. Before joining the library, Dr. Al-Walid worked in open access publishing. Yeah, I have to introduce you. It's not long. Um, uh, before joining the library, Dr. Walid worked in open access publishing with qsscience.com, HBKU Press. He holds a PhD in molecular biology from Göttingen, hope I pronounced that right, International Max Planck Research School, and an MBA from the Alliance Manchester Business School. Dr. Walid, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you. It's my pleasure to speak here today and talking about success stories. Even though I would say we're successful in what we're doing, but I still think it's a long journey. And so success will come, more success, hopefully. What I want to talk about today is kind of 10 years of what we've been doing in Qatar National Library. And it's crazy because my daughter was born a week before the Open Access Fund was announced. So now it's like a reminder every time we celebrate her birthday, I have to talk about this. Just a bit about where we're coming from. This is the library, Qatar National Library, at night. It also looks good in daytime. I do hope that you have a chance to visit one day. And just to give an idea of what we do, we're a national library, we're a research library, an academic library, and a public library. So when it comes to the public library, we have this main library collection where we have almost 1 million books on display that the community can borrow and use. We have the heritage library, which has a lot of our archival material, from photographs to maps to books to manuscripts. Really amazing place. We have a children's library. So the library is quite noisy sometimes, but it's a good type of noisy. Speaking of noise, we also have the special events area where we host once a month the Philharmonic Orchestra in a free event. And of course, we have conferences, exhibitions. But when we come and talk about, when we talk about open science, it's important to mention what the mission of QNL is, and it's to preserve the nation's and region's heritage and enable the people of Qatar to positively influence society by creating an exceptional environment for learning and discovery. Because when it comes to us as a national library, I don't think many national libraries are here today. We look at copyright and we look at where the journey of copyright, and copyright is very important for us. We see that academic research outputs are part of our nation's heritage. Open licensing allows authors to retain copyright and commercial rights. As much as publishers try to get them away, we keep them with the authors. And open licensing allows QNL to build a long-term archive. And this is something that we were able to do. A couple of years ago, we launched, So open licensing material allows for what we see when it comes to open science. We can translate from English to Arabic and Arabic to English. It allows us to create open education resources, and of course allows us for long-term preservation. And a couple of years ago, we launched Manara, Qatar Research Repository, which we reached a milestone recently of having 10,000 items on the repository. Not only academic research articles, but also non-traditional academic outputs, from posters, presentations, open education resources to, and this is really cool, like with Hamad bin Khalifa University, we got all their master's and PhD theses online. So about 700 are now publicly available. I'm not going to talk about much about the benefits of open access. I think we all know that, increasing citations, visibility. But I want to talk about why we established an open access fund. And if we look at science and why science was actually exists, it's a way to communicate, like knowledge, right? And this is from Ibn al-Haytham, the father of optics, which I'm a photographer, so I'm always trying to get kind of anything related to optics and the camera obscura. And I wonder what Ibn al-Haytham would say if he was with us in the conference. Probably, wait, an APC costs how much? It's really crazy, right? It'd be great if you can get, I mean, yeah, maybe AI can do that. But if we go back in 2015, 10 years ago, we knew that authors in Qatar want to publish open access, but there's a lack of institutional support for covering APCs. They wanted it, but it was either too expensive or that their grants might not cover them or not sufficiently, or they publish after the grant has elapsed, where the article is ready and they don't have the money. And what we found out, and I think this is the case in many countries in the region, authors are paying from their own salaries to cover APCs. And an APC right now, 2025, was like $3,000 US, maybe, if not more, like 4,000. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's crazy, right? That's we don't do that here, so our manager probably wouldn't like that. But it's 12,000 is too much, right? We have a limit of 3,000. But what we had was this kind of a service, like the value proposition was that any corresponding author from any Qatar affiliated institution can benefit from the program. And the article must be a CCBY license because that's what we believe maximizes the benefits of copyright. The authors retain copyright, but anybody can then use it for all the benefits that I mentioned. Also, journals must be listed in the DOAJ, and we would only fund hybrid journals if there is an agreement with the publisher. So that's something that we are linking with read and publish examples. So what we did in the beginning, we looked at what was happening elsewhere, what was the Max Planck Digital Library was doing. We looked at the Austrian Science Fund. And then we did some research and we did, okay, we had some initial agreements with MDPI, Frontiers, Biomass Central, which is now Springer Nature, Dove, and Hindawi. And we set up a team of administrators. It was one person, then two, then three, then two. And then we set up all the internal workflows, procedures, website application to get this done. The system kind of evolved and the service evolved into including read and publish agreements. So one thing we did is we stopped any subscription agreement back in 2017, 18, unless the publisher would give us an open access element in it, right? So that was what we refer to read and publish. And, in the last, from 2018, when we started having the agreements, what you can see is, let's walk you through this. The total number of articles supported by QNL is in the middle, in red. And then in black is the number of articles that would qualify as having a Qatar-affiliated corresponding author. And in orange is the total number of open access. So it's growing, and it's quite positive. So like we're reaching 1,300 articles almost a year. But we faced many challenges. Challenges in negotiating agreements with the publishers, making sure that the agreements make sense for us, matching our criteria, CCBY and the co-corresponding author. Challenges in managing a good service. We had expectations from the researchers to have a very quick kind of response. Managing financials. And I would say like tracking the budget, tracking our expenditure, but also tracking publishers' mistakes. Unfortunately, publishers are not perfect and they make mistakes as well. And we're there to make sure that every cent is accounted for. And managing publishers, every publisher. So just to give an example, at one point we had 15 different publishing agreements and each agreement had a different workflow system. So that's kind of the challenges that we're facing. And also managing expectations. I showed you earlier how many we funded. But kind of if you look at the other side, for every almost one article we fund, we reject one. So there's a huge demand that we can't meet. As you can see here, kind of the number, like in 2024, we rejected almost 1,000, but funded 1,300. So it's sometimes important to have kind of self-reflection for continuous improvement and to see what we're doing and see what we can improve, what can we make better. And it's something that I'm very proud of our team. Is like we're always trying to figure out what to change, what to make better. So in December, we had a survey, and some of the reported issues that we had was that there's a huge dependence on QNL for funding. That the issue that we identified back in 2015, that the lack of institutional support still exists 10 years or 9 years forward. And what we found out from the authors is that their decision on where to publish is based on where the money is. So if we had an agreement with one publisher, they would just go to that publisher. And if we had another agreement, they would go with that publisher. And that's not something that we intended to do, because author freedom, author choice is essential. And we felt that we're influencing that somehow, unintentionally. Of course, we have limited tokens, and many authors said there's a lack of information about their own institution and what they do. So we sent it out to 2,000 people, 275 responded. And the results show that, of course, what we knew, there's a lack of sufficient funding, there's a need of improved communication, need for better distribution of funds, and a need for more efficient request approval processes. So that's what we try to do as objectives for this year. And one of the things we changed was we reorganized how we define the fund. So now, instead of just having a fund, we have Pool A, Pool B, and what's in Pool B is the author, open access author fund. So Pool A, and one thing I should mention is that in Qatar, we have a library consortium. So consisting of 10 different universities, institutions, where cost sharing the read and publish agreements. Now, these agreements are calculated to cover all of the research output in Qatar. And this is what we consider as Pool A. We haven't added any restrictions on there because they're calculated to cover everything. In Pool B, these are the agreements that are funded by QNL. And at best, what we were able to do was fund about 20% of all the output. And in there, we added more restrictions, right? So we had different agreements with different publishers. And in Pool B, this is what the author, open access author fund. So we would fund an article that we don't have an agreement with the publisher. And we've added limitations that the first author and corresponding author need to be from Qatar. The articles have to be a research article, so we're excluding review articles and etc., just to make it more kind of equitable. At least that was the hope. And to allow for more early career, because usually they're the first author. And these are kind of the changes that we've done. We also introduced something with a publisher cap. So you're looking at our budget, we would not allow one single publisher to take more than 15, 20%. This kind of number varies, but kind of so not to have a big publisher take 80%, which was happening before. And one thing we also did was we have an APC token tracker. So this is updated weekly, and it lists all the different publishers that we have, the number of tokens that we start with in the beginning of the year, and the number of tokens available at that point of looking at the tracker. And this is updated weekly. And this is a way of allowing authors to kind of see what's available and kind of manages their expectation. One thing we also did was added something called pre-booking. So one problem with the whole publishing workflow is that an author would only find out if they're eligible for an open access kind of waiver or kind of a token once the article has been accepted. And it's kind of too late in the kind of the workflow to figure out the alternatives. So we're piloting this pre-booking where we can tell you can have one paper guaranteed funding per year. Send us early in the year, we can guarantee funding for you as long as you can give us the invoice by end of October. So that's in a couple of days. That's guaranteed funding. And it's also right now easier to identify funding limitations. So this is from Qatar University, and this is from 2025 so far. And we can see that, we approved 408, but we rejected 319. By splitting kind of the limitation, like the Pool A and Pool B, we can say in the consortia funding agreement in Pool A, it doesn't seem to be an issue. Most of the articles have been accepted and 40 have been declined for whatever reason, right? But in Pool B, you can see that we've accepted 78 and rejected 240. So what we identify basically is that Pool B needs to be addressed by the institutions. But again, new issues are emerging. We're finding that authors are working on, It's very kind of how to be diplomatically correct here. The authors are changing the authorship names on the papers to qualify for funding post submission, and that's a huge ethical red flag, a huge research integrity issue. We are still working on identifying these kind of case studies, but we have suspicions, and we're working with many publishers on identifying how this is happening and how we can improve it. But also publisher systems are finding it difficult to give us the information that we need. As I mentioned, we have the first author and some as a requirement, and some systems don't show that. So there's a lot of issues there. Workflow issues continue, but more complicated. And the systems don't match our pre-booking system. So we have to do it manually. So there's a lot of manual work that a colleague of mine saying we're creating problems by ourselves, but but the problem is funding is still not enough, right? I talked about success. I mean, we're doing something that not many institutions around the world are doing, but again, we're still finding that the money is available, but not coming for the funding. So we're connecting with consortium partners to address funding gaps in Pool B. But of course, there are more challenges. And when we're focused on the funding and we're focused on the criteria, we sometimes miss the bigger picture. So there's a lot of issues, especially kind of in the age of AI, that we don't have to deal with, licensing issues, research integrity issues. And what we realize right now is we focus on maybe addressing the open science issues, but science itself needs addressing, right? And science needs fixing beyond what we can do. But again, as my manager told me, focus on the thing you can control. So other things to consider: research integrity issues, licensing issues, especially with AI. We're finding like some publishers have some sneaky, I would say, sneaky words in their author agreements where you say, by signing this, you give us commercial rights, even if it's open access. Even if it's CC BY NC or ND, the author has the same commercial rights as any third party, which is crazy. Or we saw this where a publisher was only publish a paper once you approve that they can use it for their AI. So very scary times. And then again, publisher metadata is not perfect. I mentioned Manara, and what we're doing is getting all the open access articles on our repository. And even when looking at Crossref, getting the data from Crossref, crazy, like the biggest publishers who make, I don't know, millions, billions, wrong fields, right? So for example, the licensing field is in another field, and it's like a lot of manual work. So there's a lot of things, as I mentioned, in the publishing ecosystem that needs to be addressed. In the science sphere, I guess, they need to be addressed. But we do what we can in the moment, and we ask ourselves, where will the open access road take us next? And the questions that we ask ourselves: how can we make the workflows easier for our team, because we're suffering as well? How can we make the service simpler for researchers? How to have better agreements with publishers that meet our targets and goals? How to support them in the open access, right? It's not just APCs. We need to do more for kind of publishing, and how to support open infrastructure. If you want to know about this last question, there's another last session today about this specifically. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention.
We'll leave all questions at the end, so it'd be like a mini panel discussion. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Al-Walid, and I really appreciate you mentioning the hiccups and the limitations, because I think we learn very much even from the things that didn't work well, as much as from the things that worked well. So thank you so much. So next up, we have Professor Raha Saud. Professor Raha is a professor at the College of Pharmacy, King Saud University, and the director of the Journals Unit at KSU. She earned her PhD in Pharmaceutical and Natural Sciences from Heinrich, I hope I pronounced that right, Heinen University in Germany, and in 2015, with over 5 years of experience in administrating and managing more than 45 KSU journals across a wide range of disciplines. She has played a pivotal role in strengthening the university's publishing ecosystem. She also serves as an associate editor and guest editor for several national and international journals. Her research focuses on drug discovery and development from natural resources, and she's published more than 100 research articles in high-impact journal. And she actively delivers workshops, lectures, and training sessions on scholarly publishing, research ethics, and journal management, driven by her passion for empowering the science community. Orfali plays an active role in initiatives that support capacity building, research quality enhancement, and editorial leadership across the Arab region and beyond. Professor Raha, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Lamis, for this nice introduction. And thank you for all the audience today. Thank you for your patience and staying for this time and the second day as well. Okay, hello, everyone. Um, uh, Today, inshallah, I will deliver this lecture on empowering scholarship through an institution publishing the case of King Saud University scholarly journals. Completing the success story, I would like to thank Dr. Walid actually for his nice talk and also for deliver the success story that he actually lived with the National Library in Qatar. Today, moving from Qatar to Saudi Arabia, I will also give a background about the success story in King Saud University journals. So before starting, actually, I would like to tell you a very short, inspiring story. Once upon a time, less than a year ago, in King Saud University, we actually had fourth King Saud University Journal Forum. It was entitled by Publishing with Integrity in AI Era. And that time, it was really a very impressive event. And there was a very beautiful lady here. You see her with the blonde hair? Dr. Emily, she was really participate with us in that forum. And after the forum, she really was impressed about the journals of King Saud University, and she encouraged us to deliver this success story in this forum. So thank you very much for encouraging us, Dr. Emily. I'm very happy to be a part of this event today. Just to go through in this presentation, I will give an introduction and about King Saud University and its journals. After that, I will actually share the King Saud University Journal Management Desk profile. Finally, I will talk about King Saud University and open access. So just to give you an overview about King Saud University. So King Saud University established 1957 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia by King Saud ibn Abdul Aziz. And from that time, it was really the first university in the country. So it is very long history and heritage for this university. King Saud University involved about 100, more than 120 departments with 24 colleges, and also had involved 60 society and association. Accordingly, this number also will have a large scale in journals, and we have around 51 journals in different disciplines of King Saud University. So just to give you a history and a to the first journal established in King Saud University. The first journal established by 1970, which I was not born yet, but actually this journal was the Journal of Arts, Majallat al-Adab. By 1970, it was the first journal established, and after that, starting other journals to be establishing. By 1994, the Journal of King Saud University Science has been indexed as the first indexed journal. By 2000, actually, the total number of journals reached to 20, and the number of journals has been increased. By 2009, the university decided to have a unit to manage all these journals, and therefore it's the time to establish a King Saud University Journals unit. By 2020, we were celebrating by that the Journal of Computer Science and Information Science has been the second rank according to the Web of Science International Web of Science Journal Citation Report with an impact factor 12.3. By 2025, this unit has been transferred to be a management and become bigger and bigger. So actually, King Saud University Journals unit, we will focus today about the mission and vision of this unit. So King Saud University Journals unit established in 2009 under the Vice Presidency of Graduate Studies and Scientific Research. By 2025, just 2 months ago, it's transferred to King Saud University Journals Management, and we was celebrating, was very happy that this unit has been become bigger and bigger, and we have a great glory really to become a management. Just to share you the vision of this university management. So it is to be a leadership and distinction in international scientific journal, and the main mission is enhancing the university reputation and achieving its objective through scientific publication of the university, which aims to serve the society and to contribute towards the building of the knowledge economy. The main authority of this management actually is linked directly to the vice rector, so we have a great authority. So we have the authority to approve and launch new journals, and we have a lot of proposals. Most of the proposals are rejected because we need actually unique titles. And actually, in the same time, we look for journals that align with the King Saud University, with the Kingdom Vision 2030. Also, we approve the appointment of editor-in-chiefs and editorial team. So all editor-in-chiefs and editorial team profile should pass through us in order to actually revise their CVs, their qualification, their integrity. On the other hand, we are very proud to highlight that King Saud University Journals Management is the leading management scientific journal in the kingdom. We serve a policy regulation that help as a reference that help other kingdom journals. Also up to date, as we have 51 journals in different disciplines, business, accounting, medicine, pharmacy, also health, politics. What you imagine, we have a journal in that field. Here, I can actually share with you how King Saud University journals divided according its affiliation. King Saud University, as I mentioned, it's a very huge entity. So we have colleges and we have societies. So some journals belongs to the society and some journals belong to colleges. This is what actually the finding that Dr. Emily just mentioned yesterday. So around 34 journals belongs to society, while 17 is to the colleges. And according to the disciplines, we have around 17 journals as a medical science, 9 in life science, and 25, the majority in humanities and social sciences. Most of them are in Arabic language. Just to share with you a secret behind this success story is not really easy work. As Dr. Walid said, when we are in the moment of the success, we forget all these challenges. But anyways, so I would like actually to share with you this profile, how we deal with this journals in the management. This profile is D for develop, I for indexing and impact, S for support, and C for collaborating. So regarding the develop, King Saud University Management is keen to develop a strategic plan. This strategic plan aligned with the Kingdom Vision. We just launched a new plan for from 2025 to 2023, and the main objective is in one word in Arabic, Hana. Hana, each word, first wording is represent meaning. For Ha is Hawkama, A is Istidama, and Noon for Nazaha. So حوكمة is governance, استدامة sustainability, and نزاهة for integrity. After that, actually, for governance, actually, we work very hard in order to unify the government system. As I mentioned before, we have two identity and two affiliation for our journals, some from societies and some from colleges. So we need to gather all these journals together in one policy and one regulation. So before it was no different identity, different regulations. So we govern all these together. We establish rules and executive regulation to organize operation. We worked 1 year for really publish this regulation. It was really very hard work because it's not such a benchmark, very easy to find, like critically customized for our journals and to face all the challenges that we face in the past years. Also, we're linking rewards and incentive to the performance. For استدامة sustainability, as King Saud University now turned as an independent and private sector, so we need to make sure that our journal is sustainable by funding either by subscription, ABCs, and institutional support. Also, we encourage all the partnership with research centers, sponsors, and optimize open access model to balance cost and accessibility. Finally, for integrity, actually, we create a special committee from experts from around different fields for scientific journal quality control to monitor publication ethics, review process and journal performance, conduct regular feedback to the editors, and ensure compliance with COPE and international best practice. The work of this committee is really very sensitive, but actually they did a good job in order to improve the quality of our journal. Second disc profile is indexing and impact. So we actually encourage all the editor-in-chief to apply for indexing, either the indexing system do whatever they could in their specialty. Of course, Scopus and Web of Science is much more challenges, but they start with all the steps until it could be indexed. Accordingly, we are very proud to announce that we have around 14 journals has been indexed in the Web of Science in different disciplines, in medical, dentistry, pharmaceutical, also in chemistry and science, so and computer science as well. So this is actually, it's a very success story that we reach with the journals, and 16 journal has been indexed in Scopus. Of course, it's not always a very easy way. So we face a lot of challenges. Therefore, we got really like a questionnaire and focus group with our editor-in-chiefs for the most problem that they face in indexing their journal for the other journals. And we found that we get some outcome that the most important challenge is the visibility. So we try to do and find different solutions to enhance the visibility for our journal, and others who develop a well-trained editorial team, as we noticed that some editors not well, really have a well knowledge. Regarding the visibility, as Dr. Emily yesterday mentioned, and also Dr. Walid, there is a really great challenge and obstacles in metadata. So we try our best to have a best practice with our metadata, check all the metadata for all these journals to make sure that all our journals is fit in the right place in the metadata. Also, we encourage our journals to participate in social media activity, as long as nowadays social media is very important, is calculating altimetric and so on, and in the downloading. So we really have an intensive questionnaires and statistical analysis to make sure that all the journals is active in social media. After that, we conduct a lot of workshops, including from different expertise. And also we build an e-learning editorial package that for only new, for every editors and for even the new enroll editors. One of the program that we are very proud of is the initiative that has been initiated by Saudi Pharmaceutical Journal. The idea came from in order to actually build a second line or second generation of editors. So this is actually a fellowship program, editorial fellowship program. The Saudi Pharmaceutical Journal actually have this initiative. It's a program, 1-year program that could actually train the applicant for handling manuscript review, and even for giving the decision. So this is really a good idea that we will apply for other journals. Um, one more thing that we are very happy to actually share is the King Saud University Journals Forum every year that Dr. Emily last year has been participated. So every year we have an annual forum. For this year, I will actually announce it by the end of this talk. So this also keep our editors encouraged, and also we have a lot of networking, exchange experiences, and so on. After that, actually, I will talk about the disk profile S for support. So the management as will support the all journal in logistics, financial, and technical. So for logistics, as I mentioned, it enhances the performance, indexing, and integrity. Also for the financial, to make sure that the all journals do not struggle in financially, as well as sorry, but we have to train them as a gold open access to to make sure for their sustainability. Finally, the technical AI tools and OGS system technical support. Ending by collaborating. So collaborating, the management is keen to collaborate with different identity publishers. We have some journals as published in publishers for our journals, hosting by some publishers. Around 20 journals is hosting by publisher. We have some names like Springer Nature, Walter Clauser's Emerald, Scientific Scholar, and the rest of the journal is publishing in-house in King Saud University. For collaborating, actually, we also enhance and encourage our editor-in-chief to attract and foster collaboration with high impact researcher, collaborate with well-known academic institution, and try to join funding programs, multilingual abstract for some really critical and good articles. So we try our best to enhance the language diversity. Also, we collaborate with international guest editors to procure a special issue. Finally, association. Of course, King Saud University is try to our best to actually have collaborating with different associations with improve their knowledge and improve their performance, indexing, and so on, either nationally and internationally. Finally, I just would like to share the King Saud University and open access profile. So King Saud University, all articles from King Saud University is available online without any subscription barrier. King Saud University journals share published research with Saudi National Library, so it is free. It could be downloaded without subscription. 80% of King Saud University journal free and open access to published research, while only 20% of the King Saud University journals are gold open access. So just to end this talk, I would like to share the invitation for everyone who has who would like to join us in the 5th Scientific Journals Forum. It will be at 17th, 18th December at King Saud University Hamad Al Jasser Main Hall. The invitation is really general for all who are researchers, even editor-in-chiefs and sponsors. So please, you can scan this barcode to have much more information about this event. Finally, also, it is a good time to join us in Riyadh season. It is good weather, by the way. And it will be a good opportunity, actually, to visit Riyadh at this time. So a lot of events and a lot of, actually, celebrations and so on. I would like to end this talk. I would like to thank you again for your listening. And I know the questions will be later on. So this is my actually contacting data. If you need further information, please don't hesitate to contact me. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Raha. It's been really exciting to see that a journal from the Middle East is doing so much work and so much success. So thank you so much. Now we move to Alicia Wise. And Alicia is the executive director of CLOCS, hope I pronounced that right, which is a crucial open infrastructure service. This international digital archive ensures the long-term preservation of the scholarly record and is collaboratively governed by libraries and publishers around the world. Content deposition in the archive is stored at 12 secure vaults around the world. If the original publisher ever stops providing access, the CLOCS archive restores access under an open license. Alicia has been active in increasing access to research information in diverse roles within academic funding, library, and publishing communities. So Alicia, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. Have you noticed what a terrific job Al-Walid and Raha have done giving us inspiration and a very positive vision for developments in information sciences? Well, I'm going to get depressing for just a moment, and then we will try to be positive again. And the reason why is that I'm hoping to share with you some information about digital preservation and learn from you about how to engage better in this region in particular. It's very important. So let's start with the depressing stuff, which is my inability to use technology. I know, is that better to use that? Just I know. Wait. Right, a couple of sobering stories that may be familiar to you, but particularly those who work in libraries or other memory organizations. In Afghanistan, for example, due to civil war and as a result of Taliban policies, libraries were shuttered and collections, physical collections in these cases were lost and no longer available. In Syria, due to conflict, there have been sort of destruction of educational and memory institutions across the country. And these two countries and this time in human history, it's not unique. I learned that the British, for example, burned the Library of Congress in the United States to the ground twice. Libraries, memory organizations, archives are often the focus of destructive behavior if there is a desire to shutter knowledge or to change our understanding of culture, history, languages. Threats to content did not disappear in the transition from print to digital information. And those threats do not only exist in conflict zones. Right around the world, digital information is at risk through physical destruction. It could be accidental, it could be consciously done. Cyber attacks are increasing. We have all become aware of national libraries, for instance, that have been the focus of systematic cyber attacks. There are technical shutdowns, shuttering of the internet, and there's censorship worldwide. And academics and institutions can be forced to move, and their collections may or may not be able to come with them. This can happen very suddenly. If you think about the Ukraine, for example, and the rapidity with which access to information was lost there after the Russian attacks. and how quickly Ukrainian libraries needed to find safe harbors for their materials outside of their country during this time. So digital information is at risk. And what I'm here to talk with you about today is things that we can do together to identify precious information that is part of humanity's shared culture, history, and knowledge, and the steps that we can take together to protect important information. So that's the gloomy part done. This is going to be more positive, I hope, from now on. I'll just say a little bit about CLOCS. We're an international partnership of libraries and publishers, and our shared mission is to preserve the scholarly record. We're a charity. We were established in California, and we're spun out from Stanford University, where librarians and computer scientists collaborated in the late 1990s to develop open source preservation software. So we're a fully digital archive. We hold no print whatsoever. And the collection is distributed around 12 countries, 12 institutions around the world, not 12 countries yet. This is our aspiration. So the collection is held in countries including Australia, Japan, Italy, Germany, the UK, Canada, and the US. Notice some gaps in the global south and here in the Middle East and in North Africa. So that's one of our challenges. I'll come back to that. We're an open infrastructure. We align with the POSI principles for open scholarly infrastructure. And we're committed to ensuring that the digital preservation software we use, which is open source, is available for anyone in the world to use. And it is actually the basis for other digital archives. For example, the Cariniana archive in Brazil, and other regional archives. At CLOCS, we collect publications and related data in all subject areas and languages, and we're a dark archive. And what that means is that publishers trust us and therefore deposit the master versions of full text and metadata because we don't make it available while they do so. We have contracts with the publishers, which give us the right, if the content disappears from the web, if the publisher goes out of business, for example, we can bring the content from the archive and make it available under an open access library for everyone in the world to continue using and enjoying, learning from. We work in these three basic ways. We ingest content electronically from publishers of all kinds, including library presses and from repositories. Some of the content is born digital, other content is digitized. It's all stored in each of the 12 vaults. So there are 12 distinct, secure, independent copies. And the copies are all in contact with each other. So if a bit or a byte goes awry in one copy, the other 11 vaults detect this and they work together to repair the damaged copy. The preservation vaults are at these institutions in the countries that I mentioned earlier. And we really are looking very actively for partners in additional regions. And there's an important reason for this. As a partnership of libraries and publishers, we rely on librarians to have the memory keeping mission in a region and to identify what content produced in that region is important to preserve for the long term. Librarians play an important guiding and selecting role and can help us understand which publishers in their regions particularly are important, which publishers they are seeking to acquire content for their own collections. So we do need to be in contact right around the world with both the library and the publishing communities. I'll give you a few case studies drawn from this region. The map on this slide shows the intensity with which we are working with publishers in this region. For the countries that are in green, this means we have only one single journal from that country currently preserved in the archive. For countries that are in yellow, this means we have more working relationships with publishers, and there are more content. There are more journals and books published in those countries actually preserved at present. So we're active with publishers through the region. We have not a single participating library at present. So clearly we're not understanding how to reach out to collaborate effectively. And I really very much appreciate your guidance about how we can do that better and more effectively. Yemen, this is one example. We have 2 titles published by the University Faculty of Arts at Tamar University. These are quarterly peer-reviewed journals, and they're hosted on the OJS platform. So CLOCS has an integration with OJS, and we're able to harvest content published there for preservation. In Iraq, we have quite a large number of publishers participating. They come from a variety of universities. My understanding is that they're all university-based publishers. And the University of Baghdad in particular, we have a very large concentration of journals, one from each faculty, at least one, but again, no relationship with the library, which we would very welcome. The subjects here are very broad across all of the discipline areas. And here we gather the content to the archive in 2 ways, harvesting through OJS, but where the content is published in other ways, we're actually able to write programs to go out and crawl that information so the publisher doesn't have to worry about providing it to us. In all cases, the deposit is done with the permission of the publisher, with our overt permission. And in Egypt, here we have good relationships with a variety of university-based publishers and societies. These are a mix of open access and subscription access titles, particularly strong in health science content from Egypt. So that just gives you a few examples of the ways that we work with publishers in the region. Looking ahead, as I hope is already clear, we're really trying to take steps to decolonize our collection, which is heavily biased in favor of content produced in Europe and North America. And we're actively seeking guidance and engagement from regions around the world. Your advice and guidance about what content from your regions is important to be part of the long-term scholarly record is absolutely essential. We are actively championing diversity in our collecting practices. We've evolved our collection policy to foreground this. And we're particularly interested in collecting materials that show more diverse languages, that come from more diverse countries and cultures, and that also adopt a broader spectrum of critical perspectives, the viewpoints of disenfranchised groups, for example. We are working actively to safeguard content in conflict zones, but I would say that it's really important if you have content that's important to you and to your institution, to your researchers, it's so much easier to make provision for it before something bad happens, whether that's an earthquake, a fire, a conflict, a change of government or policy. Active preservation is much easier than doing it at the last moment in a crisis when minds and hearts are elsewhere. I would also say that it's not enough to have content in any single archive, no matter how good it is. We always recommend that publishers and libraries ensure that important content is in at least 3 distinct archives For example, a national library, a national archive, perhaps with us, perhaps in an institutional repository. And that's because you never know when an archive will be unsettled or become vulnerable in some ways. Our digital heritage is important, and it's more important than any of our single organizations or institutions. So our commitment to the community of support around the Clocks Archive is to be inclusive. We support publishers of all sizes, from single title diamond open access publishers that are scholar-led up to the large commercial publishers. And we're keen to work with libraries of all kinds and shapes and sizes as well. We're committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and to a global and more diverse archival collection. We have recognized that cost can be a barrier to participation. So we are working with partners like DOAJ and DOAB and OAPN and libraries to ensure that Diamond open access publishers in particular are able to preserve their content at no cost whatsoever. And where we are receiving financial contributions, we're using the Coalition S equitable pricing framework, and we invoice in local currencies, and prices are discounted to reflect purchasing power equity. So we're trying to be very responsive to that historical barrier to participation. We are a charity. We've been going now, our work has been ongoing for around 25 years. We're community owned and controlled and supported, and it's 50% support by libraries and 50% support by publishers. We have a small team. We try to keep our costs down. There are only 10 of us. In the world, the most of the team consists of software engineers who can do the development work necessary to gather in content from publishers. And that's us. But what I'd really love to learn is more about how we can work more effectively in the region and with all of you. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Alicia. And I especially appreciate the fact that try to do that before it's too late, because you never know when disaster strikes and you lose your access. So try to be proactive and preserve your valuable research output. So if I could invite the speakers to join me here for the Q&A. Okay, so I think we can open up the floor for any questions for any of our speakers. Yes, please.
The question to my friends from Qatar, maybe all speakers actually be happy to answer it. Do you think we'll ever have enough money for diamond access publishing?
Depends. That's a very lawyer question answer. For me personally, I've kind of, when it comes to diamond, I am supportive of diamond open access publishing as an idea, but I have reservations about the business models, right? So for me, and I've made that, I've always made that kind of transparent how I feel about diamond open access. I don't know how it can work. I don't think having more money is the solution. I think smart, sustainable business models is the way forward. And I think with good ideas, with sustainable models, you don't need so much money. One example that I love, I think it's the Oman Medical Journal in Oman. And what they do is, for example, it's open access. It's diamond as far as last time I checked. It's been there for years, and they rely, for example, on the English department for the translations. They rely on the computer science department for the typesetting. They rely on different departments within the university. Sultan Qaboos University Medical Journal, sorry. And they rely on different journals. So I don't think putting more money is a solution. I think just having more smarter ways of doing it. I'm not sure that answered. I don't have an answer.
Perfect, exactly what I'm looking for. Because just learning from the health system, healthcare is a black hole. It doesn't matter how much money you put in, it will never be enough. America spends $13,000 per head per year in health, and their system is number 37 in the world. Singapore spends only $2,000 per head per year, and their system is number 6 according to WHO ranking. So it isn't really how much money you spend, is how you spend it. That's exactly, your answer is perfect. You need the accurate business model. Then you can guarantee diamond access in the long term. Thank you.
Doctor. Dr. Walid, I just want to ask about the open access agreements. How many open access agreements do you have? And do you have a unified platform to manage all these open access agreements?
If you come to more of the workshop, you'll find out more. I'm promoting self-promotion there. It varies right now. So open access agreements, we have, as I mentioned, different types of agreements. We have agreements with fully open access publishers, and we have agreements with kind of for read and publish. I can't remember what we had. It's like maybe 12 or 13.
Approximate
Yeah, I would say up to 15 at a time. Mostly right now, read and publish agreements, and less kind of fully open access journals. Although for 2026, we're trying to get more, I would say. Another thing that we're also piloting are open access books. And we have 2 publishing agreements, hopefully more, that we're piloting. And the question about the platform, do you mean for ourselves to have to manage our, like the...
Because you said you are informing the researchers about the remaining tokens,
Oh, yes.
like to pre-book. So how you do this with, it's a manual system, or you have any automated system to do this? It's very useful if the researcher know how many tokens and if they are able to pre-book.
So it's not automated, it's very manual work. My team doesn't like me for this. Basically, they were complaining to me that we need to make things easier. Basically, I would say it's an Excel sheet, right? It's a huge Excel sheet with a long number of columns, a long number of rows. For every request that we get, we capture the name of the publisher, the name of the author, the date of the invoice, whether it's a hybrid or fully OA, the URL, the DOI, the invoice date, the invoice amount, the currency, and much, much more. And then basically one Excel sheet is linked. So basically we do some programming. We have another kind of balance sheet. So every publisher has this balance sheet, number of items that come in, number of items rejected, what's remaining, and that they all feed into one balance sheet that we update once a week. So the tracker is available on our website, but we manually update it.
Thank you so much.
So my question to Dr. Wise about clockers. So in your slides, you show Arab maps that few journals are archived in clocks. So I need to know why very few publishers know this service, because it's costly, or they don't know this archiving long preservation.
Thank you for the question. So there are relatively few publishers in this region participating. We think it's a matter of awareness raising. Publishers are busy producing the content and disseminating it and working with authors and editors. Usually preservation is not top of mind. This is something that they learn about by talking with librarians, by services like DOAJ. And because our partnership with librarians in this region is weak, we're missing some of the most vocal advocates possible for long-term preservation. It's not expensive for the publishers, or we try to ensure that it's not, and that cost isn't a barrier to participation. So for example, as you know, we have a partnership with DOAJ, and the team at DOAJ will identify diamond open access titles with no resources and alert us that they would like to be preserved. In those cases, we waive fees entirely. So it's not a matter, I think, of cost being a key barrier. It is awareness and priorities. They have busy lives, and this needs a little bit of support and help to be bumped up their priority list. And we need to do the technical work to make it really, really easy for the publishers.
Thank you. I'm going to make some advertisement for clocks, because for you to be seen on PubMed, you have to be recognized by Midline. And to be registered Midline, you have only two archiving systems to be seen. One is clocks. I remember the other one's called
The
Pico.
other one is Portico.
Portico, exactly. So I think if you're really thinking of having archiving, make sure you do it through clocks or Portico. That's required. My question is for Dr. Raha about Saudi Arabia. How are you dealing at the national level? Are you adopting similar process to what Qatar is happening, or every university is having its own contract for access? Thank you.
Thank you for this really great question. Actually, it's very critical. But nowadays, each university has its own policy to deal with the National Library. But actually, by the end of 2024, early 2025, there is an initiative from the Saudi National Library to collect all the database research from all Saudi journals. So things become now much more nationally. The country become much more aware about the open access and all the data. So before I can say no, but nowadays, yeah. We all have one policy nowadays, so we try to collaborate very well with the National Library. Thank you.
A comment, just on from Qatar. So yes, we have the National Library doing it, but as I mentioned in my presentation, we're working with like institution partners to have more money in Pool B. But maybe I didn't give the full story. One thing we're telling them, have your own agreements, right? And that's one thing that not always just having kind of a centralized payment. There's different ways of doing it. And we're trying to convince them also to have their own open access fund. And the reason is, again, it goes kind of a bigger picture, which I think in the region is about Q1 and Q2 journals and having to be a kind of impact factor. We annoy them by saying we don't care about impact factor. And they're saying, and there's a whole argument that money should, with the limited money, it should be spent on Q1 journals and not any journal. And that's like a struggle. So we're moving maybe away from a centralized payment.
Can I have one last question? I'm sorry, maybe too many questions. Do you think it would be easier and cheaper if you leave it up to individual researcher to negotiate how much is paid for the publisher? Because from my own experience, if you tell the publisher he's asking for $2,000, say, look, my institution only allow 500, most likely they will come down to 500. But if you have a pre-agreed agreement, which you do, it's highly likely that that number will remain 2,000, will never go down to 500.
If not higher. Yeah. I don't think, yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to see if researchers can negotiate. I don't think publishers would like that. That's kind of every single one. There's a lot of things maybe researchers can do more, I hope. For example, even the licensing, they find very confusing. So, but yeah, I mean, that's, I mean, I don't want to go into the details of 10 years ago, we didn't have article processing charges this high. And I'm worried about what's going to happen in a couple of years. It keeps going up, and I don't see real justification, especially that I don't want to sound very anti-publisher. Because it seems like every conference I go and I talk badly about, but the metadata isn't that great. The workflows aren't that great. The research integrity issues. And the question is, what are we paying for? Why are we paying more and more? And you've got publishers saying, we're investing all this money in research integrity and AI. We didn't ever ask for AI stuff, right? So yeah, again, I don't want to go into that tirade.
Good afternoon. Thank you for all the information from the panelists. All of your presentations were excellent and provided a wealth of information that all of us can benefit from. My question is for Dr. Wise. Number one, thank you for the fun fact about the Library of Congress. I was completely unaware of that. But you know, your initiative for preservation is really good. One of the things I wanted to ask is, you showed a list of partners that you had on your slide. Do they serve as partners for logistical infrastructure and like storage of the data? And how do you, what is the criteria for an institution to be approved for that? And you know, what is done in terms of backup, just in case disaster strikes in one of those locations?
Those are really good questions. So you're talking about the 12 vault hosts. Right now, the vaults are located at universities, largely universities that were involved in the founding of CLOCS back in the late 90s and early noughties. We're in discussions with a country in Africa right now about hosting a vault there. And that will be the first example of bringing an additional host institution to the network in order to diversify the geographic representation. And what we've looked for is a strong community of support from both libraries and publishers in the region. We've needed a secure data center available through one of the universities. And this is because each of our vaults is actually a physical machine. CLOCS purchases the machine and has it delivered to the host university. They configure it in their local network security environment behind their firewalls. And then we remotely install the software and the data, the content. And you asked what happens if a disaster strikes one of those vaults. We can run the system independently of a majority even of the machines. Should disaster strike in North America, for example, and we were to lose 6 machines, not that I hope that would happen, it would be difficult, but we can run the service independently, even outside the United States now. And we would find new node hosts, and we would install new equipment and then repopulate in just the normal way. I would say our criteria for node hosts needs to continue to evolve. We know we want more and better geographic representation, but how to do that equitably, I think, is still a work in progress. And the more input we have from organizations that can convene stakeholders in a region to advise us, the better. The node hosts, the libraries involved in hosting those vaults, are all represented on our board. So those librarians sit together and they are the majority of the board. Publishers also are represented, but they are a small minority on the board.
So maybe if there are any online questions? No online questions? Okay, so then we can continue. Uh, uh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So any more questions from the audience? Okay, because I have a question for Dr. Lulid and Dr. Raha. Yeah, we've been talking a lot about the APCs and, you know, it's too much. And what about preprints? Like, is it an option? Like, do you think that institutions in Qatar or in Saudi Arabia would, you know, think of preprints as sufficient enough, knowing that now there are being peer reviewed and, you know, all the fears that have been circulating around preprints are becoming less and less?
Okay, thank you. This is really very, very sensitive question. Because nowadays, I'm trying to convince actually the authority to go through the preprints. And of course, because of the, you know, the way of publication is how it's changed. We try to import the transparency in these preprints with a great, you know, with a great criteria. Till now, actually, we face a lot of challenges because in institutions, it's not the same way in nationals, libraries, because in institutions, actually, we have certain regulations for promotions for these academics, and those academics needs to really publish in Web of Science. And that's why it is not really very supportive until this regulation has been changed and give opportunity to publish actually even in Scopus, because nowadays the preprint there is a Scopus index, but not Web Science is not supported very well. So yeah, we are trying our best.
I would say it's important, but depends on the field, right? So some fields are more encouraged to do preprints. Let's say computer science, they publish an archive before they publish in a journal. So that's something we have in mind, and we're trying to mandate it somehow, preprints actually. So what we're doing this year, we've changed one of the policies. I didn't mention today, but whoever wants to get funding has to register on a repository. And they won't get funding unless they have a registered account on our research repository. Now, the original idea was that they also have to do a preprint of their article to get funding. We got some opposition from researchers on this, saying that, so we stopped that, but it's something we're thinking of doing again. If you looked at the number of rejections of APCs we had, it's almost 1-to-1. But imagine that every article in a hybrid journal has a preprint, then we have total open access, almost, right? There's the different things that we need to consider. Author perception, whether they will not adopt it, but also publishers. Many publishers are anti-Plan S, right? Like, yeah, so like they didn't like it's called the author retention strategy, the rights retention strategy. And that's something that we're thinking of doing. And I think preprints are the way forward, but we need to be kind of figure out, to do more research before we implement some of the changes.
Because, like, let's think about it. If preprints were the way to go, there would be so much money saved for actual research, you know, than just for publishing an article. Yeah. So again, any questions from the audience?
I think the audience needs coffee.
Yes. So I think just final question for all of you is like, yes, please. No worries.
So I have popcorn for the serious questions.
For Alicia. Do you plan to have a branch somewhere in another planet in case a nuclear war? Yes. I'd like to know about
We're not working with Elon Musk, if this is what you are worried about.
think if that's the case, we would be more concerned about CC licenses.
Invite us.
So I think just as a final question, what do you think is the missing piece? If we really want the region to, move more towards open access, like what is the missing piece that like all institutions, all open science advocates, everyone will have to work towards to make this possible? Let's start with Dr. Al-Walid.
I mean, we sometimes, we always talk about the region and the region. I think, yeah, we can have regional solutions, but you can have individual country solutions, and then together the region can come together, right? We don't have like a one like policy across the region. But to answer the question, what I think would work in Qatar would be a national open access or open science strategy that mandates open science. We've seen that in Slovenia. I would love to have that something like in the copyright law in Qatar. A top-down approach could help. And I think that's what's missing, some more policies and mandates.
Dr. Raha?
Okay, thank you very much. I will answer in only one word. Only one word.
Money.
Awareness. That's all. So we need awareness.
I was worried you said money, but
It's open access, so no money.
Can I be cheeky and have two rather than one? Sorry for being greedy. The first one, you've already said strategy. The Dutch in the Netherlands have a lovely phrase about getting all the noses pointed in the same direction. And I've been very struck over the 2 days of this conference that there's so much happening in every country in this region. We were hearing about Arabian initiatives too, but the disconnect between that grand political vision and all of the excellent work on the ground is meaningful. So bridging that gap feels like the first one. And then the second one, I've also been struck over the last 2 days that there were a lot of technological developments. I've heard about country hosting platforms for journals and repositories and all sorts of technology and infrastructures that are being invented in the country, in the region, that often exist internationally in various ways. And I do wonder if sometimes maybe we all need to figure out a way to work together a little bit more rather than duplicating that effort, because it is expensive and we can perhaps do more together than we can do independently.
Couldn't agree more. I think we really need to stop thinking about ourselves in silos and, really start collaborating. And I think if we do so, we can go even further in the future. So I guess we can release everyone a few minutes earlier. Thank you for our speakers. Thank you for our audience. And thank you. Thank you very much. Have a nice rest of the day. I think there are trees to be given. Yeah, there are trees to be given for the speakers.